A couple of things before we get stuck into it. First of all, I've done previous studio tours at every studio I've ever had since starting this channel. So if you're also interested in seeing a bit of the history of the channel and how it's developed over time, I'll link to those in the description. Make sure to check them out if you're interested in seeing how the channel and the equipment and all that stuff has evolved over time. I find that sort of stuff pretty interesting. And then on top of that, I think the biggest change aside from the space that I'm working in is the people that I'm working with and who are making all this content possible. So I'm also going to link in the description to a couple of vlogs which introduce the people behind this channel aside from me. There's a lot more people that go into making a channel and content like this possible. Oh, and while you're over there on my vlog channel, Daily Jazza, make sure to subscribe if you're interested in seeing a bit more of the behind the scenes. I'm pretty transparent about the running of the channel and the day-to-day life of being a YouTuber and a dad. And I also lift the curtains on a whole bunch of different products and ideas that I'm developing over time that I don't reveal here until much later. So go subscribe there, check out that other stuff. But without any further ado, let's check out Jazza Studios. Whew, I've officially unpacked. So I thought, what better opportunity, now that I'm officially finished in the studio and office, to show you the inner workings of Jazza Studios. Starting off with the tech shelf. If you need a camera, I've got my Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K. Maybe I need some 6K with a probe shot. Let me just grab my 6K with a probe lens. That's the probe lens. If there's anything I've learned over the 1,000+ videos that I've produced on this channel, it's that sometimes you have an idea and you need a way to film it, and it's different to every other video you've done. So the more bits and pieces you have to construct some sort of mad creation of a film set, the better. And this is where that all starts. Obviously I have a lot of tablets and I've shown off a lot of tablets for sponsor stuff or reviews or giveaways or whatever. Very often I have to go back to either find the cables or pieces or even the box to reuse in a different promo spot or something like that. So I am a hoarder, but I try and do it in as constructive a way as possible. Everything in here is completely modular. If I want to clear half of the room, which I've done on multiple occasions, all it takes is about an hour's work just shifting stuff out of the way and setting stuff up. So this is set number one. I tend to use it in videos where I redraw your art or it's more community focused. I mean, it's also built in a way that it feels like a room when it's all cropped off like this, but then it's also a set. So when you sort of obviously pull out the framing, doesn't look like a room so much. Most of my finished artworks that I am proud of and am holding on to, I put in here somewhere. We can't move around to the rest of the studio without showing you my little room back here. So this corridor behind my set is a super useful closet, essentially. We've got all these tubs, so whenever we need stands or tripods or anything, this is part of the Frankensteining process of building the sets that require a little more playing. And you'll notice a bunch of costumes. I've got several berets, got several wigs, got me my Aussie hat, and then we have a costume rack back here. This is probably one of the most important and used pieces of equipment in the whole studio because we have something we haven't pointed out yet, a whole set of rails and pantographs at the top of the studio. These are called pantographs. They can go up and down and it's super useful when we need to light or create temporary filming setups or just simply switch focus from one part of the studio to another. This is the shelf that I go to Frankenstein the actual videos together. Wherever you see me chaotically slamming materials together or rushing to grab something and put it together, it's always gotten from this shelf. There are places I go to more than others. For example, my blending card, big and small, my brushes, oil, acrylic. Often I go to inks and my markers. And as you can see, these are mostly in this middle area here. The lesser used stuff is on the top shelves, and then the bottom shelves are much more like random art mediums and materials. Some are a little more common, like pastels, chalk, hot glue, from Play-Doh to glitter, pipe cleaners, carving foam, and sometimes just random little gimmicks like the Sketchograph, which turned into a video on its own. I just saw it in a random craft shop once, thought, hey, that'd be a cool video. So everything as an artist that I could possibly want or need, for the most part, is there. So this is probably, if you've been on the channel for any period of time, the thing you've seen the most behind me, this big mural. So as you can imagine, the mural in this set piece is the key thing. It brings it all to life, which is really fun. I had a similar thing with the old studio, but you've seen that a lot. And if you want to know a little bit about what went into that, there's actually an entire video I made when I first moved in here talking about the building of that community set and this mural, which goes into a lot more detail. So I'll link to that in the description. You can check that out. By the way, my addiction to boom arms is only getting worse over time. This one I use for vlogging. I have two microphones on boom boom arms. This is my production microphone, and this goes to the video content that we record, and this is my USB microphone, which is mainly for like calls and screen recording, and is my backup microphone. Monitors, as you can imagine, are on boom arms. That makes it super useful. So speaking of monitors, I have computer monitors, and then I have camera monitors. And this is a camera monitor, which is essentially a point of reference for me to see what this camera is filming. So this is a standing desk. I don't often use it in standing positions, but for certain videos, or if I'm in a certain mood, if I feel like planting my legs and stretching out every now and then, I have that option. But especially for a video like the puppetry video I did, having the standing desk at full height gave me a lot more flexibility for filming, which is really cool. Now, it doesn't come with wheels, but Lewis from Zen Space Desks was kind enough to customize it for me to put the 6 wheels on it, which means that I can lock the brakes on like it has now. It's not gonna go anywhere, but if I need to move to do one of my custom random sets or just change the depth of the background, I can just unlock, move, lock, and it's super cool. These are super useful. These are Auralex acoustic panels. I pretty much get them all set up behind the cameras for every shoot I do. Not only is it gonna help break up the sound and stop a little bit of extra bounce, which this room is pretty good with because I actually put acoustic panels all across the ceiling to help absorb sound, but are an extra option to just sort of neaten up the visuals, because as you can imagine, if I'm filming like here and I don't want to show a lot of what's behind there for the activity I'm focused on, they help control the visual flavor of the video. As far as filming equipment goes, we generally rely on Blackmagic filming equipment, both because they're really affordable, but also because they're really high production quality. So these compete with like the Aries and the Red cameras, but at way lower price points. And one of my favorite things that they make is the Micro Studio. That's this little head module on here. They take full Micro Four Thirds lenses, but they're barely twice the size of a GoPro. And I just have that running straight into a capture card. And then also the front desk camera is also a Micro Studio, and they all use Micro Four Thirds lenses that are all compatible with the other Blackmagic cameras. So it's really cool to have a setup that these Micro Studio cameras really stay where they need to stay, but then when we need to move around, we can just hot swap the lenses and just make exactly the setup we need for every video we make. And there's not a lot to show over here, except that sometimes we keep some panels here. This is a TV that we often use for if I need a visual on the screen of something that I'm following along with, like a Bob Ross video. That is when that comes into play. And I also have a big whiteboard, which I bought for the Whiteboard Art Challenge, but I have found I use for a lot of other stuff. This has nothing to do with video content, but it's one of the most essential things for me in this room. I don't get to play it a lot, maybe like once every week or two, but I'm a drummer at heart, and I've always found that if I don't have my drum kit set up to be usable, I'm a little bit sad inside my soul. This is the newest and coolest addition to the studio. Before we moved in, I was originally hoping to do what's called a cyclorama. You know those like green screen wall things that have the curved edges and corners? Then I started to realize pretty quickly, I don't do a lot of green screen stuff. If there's anything I've learned by using this space, it's that I need to use as much of the space as efficiently and effectively as possible. And that just wouldn't be an effective use of the space. Then I moved to the idea of doing another set. And in fact, I'd made a couple of videos about it. I did the brick textured wall behind, which was a really cool start. And I did a bit of back and forthing with you guys about the design of the set to try and figure out what it would look like, and even came to a bit of a conclusion. But it became pretty clear over time, especially the more messy videos I did, that I probably should find a way to do that more effectively. Best part is it fits right in, because just like the other table, it is a Zen Space Desk table, so it goes up and down. Feels so good. A couple of new additions are boom arms. One for a monitor for when I do my modeling and sculpting and stuff, so I can position that so I can see what the camera shot will be. And another which is a placeholder for another Blackmagic Micro Studio that we're gonna mount here so that I can do a whole bunch of top-down filming and flexible stuff. So I'll have a permanent filming setup at this desk. Otherwise, I've just got little bits and pieces in the shelves behind there. And then the other thing I'll point out is the cool light behind the set. And it sort of changes the mood of the set piece, which is nice. And when I film here, I sort of dim all the lights and get this really cool like workshop vibe. It's nice. So if you want to see in more detail all the components that went into putting this together and how I put it together and the tour of the whole thing, I'll link to that in the description. So last but not least, in this room, we have a white backdrop, which we frankly don't often use because we have a white wall. We have a black backdrop, which I use quite often actually. All of my painting and Bob Ross videos, the recent sculpture video, and then last but certainly not least, good old green screen. Any sort of Let's Plays, VR content, or gags, mostly gags. But just having all of these on the rolls ready to go and then just tuck away and pack away when I'm done is really, really cool. So I think that about does our full rotation in the studio, but the real magic happens in here because we wouldn't have a channel unless we had videos. And this is where those get made. There are 3 workstations here. There is Jeremy's, who edits the vlogs and helps with other production assistant stuff. Gareth, who obviously doesn't want me to see what's on his computer. What have you been looking up, Gareth? What have you been looking up? Oh, look at your little baby. What a cute little baby. And this is my desk. And this is also the cleanest it's ever looked because I'd be lying if I told you it always looked like this. In fact, for the last year, it's been covered in trash. I'm the trash man. So this is my command station. Obviously don't do any filming or anything here, but this is where I go through a lot of edits. Now, as far as edits goes, I would say I edit maybe like 5% of the videos. So fortunately, I have very talented editors in Gareth and Billy who do the main channel videos. This is my extra special Blackmagic color panel mixer thing. It's like an amazing, I think of it like sculpting with color. It's really cool. But I do want to take a minute to talk about the program we use because not only is it better than Premiere, in my humble opinion, but it covers absolutely everything from beginning to end in the workflow. I'm also going to stop right here and say this video is sponsored by Blackmagic, and mainly because as part of showing you how all of this works and how our whole production comes together, Blackmagic equipment and software are the biggest parts of the entire production, both production and post-production. And while the camera stuff is really cool, most people are sort of a bit lower end as far as like the production equipment needs goes earlier on. That goes for me as well when the channel was smaller. But Resolve is something that I can recommend to everyone because it covers everything in the production workflow, but also because it's free. And if you are making your own content and you're at a smaller scale, definitely get Resolve and check out the Cut page, which is a recent addition to Resolve, which enables you to do a condensed version of all of the epic professional functions in Resolve in one tab. From editing to audio mixing to color grading to final delivery and rendering. And that's just the Cut page. But if you want to sink your teeth into it, the Edit page has everything that Premiere has and more. And then when you dive into the nitty-gritty, the Fusion tab is basically Adobe After Effects, and the Color tab is the best thing about Resolve, in my humble opinion. It just enables you to make a magic of any clip. The Fairlight tab, which is the audio mixing tab in DaVinci Resolve, is basically a standalone audio recording program in itself. So do yourself a favor, if you want to do video production of any kind, get Resolve, and you can do it right now completely for free. I'll put the link in the description. And of course, a huge thank you to Blackmagic for not only sponsoring this video, but empowering creativity. Now, before we move on, there is one thing that you will see at every single post-production workstation, and that is this thing. This is what I'm gonna say is one of my proudest creations. I didn't make this. This is a Razer Orb Weaver. It's just like a generic gaming macro keyboard. But I came up with an editing macro workflow that essentially enables you to put all your main commands into the macro keyboard. And I am like so proud to say that everyone who has been through these hallowed doors and worked on videos on my channel, who I've introduced this macro keyboard to, swears by it and often even use it in their own personal time and at home. Ain't that right, Gareth? That's right. So moving around clockwise in the room, this is a calendar system that I've used ever since the start of the channel. And in fact, I bet you could go back to the first studio tour, I would have the same calendar system. I find it is way too useful to have these little stickies that I could just pick up and put down. Look at this, studio tour, Blackmagic sponsored. Look at that, right there. So it's all there and it's just way too convenient to be able to move the tabs around, and then also there's something satisfying in my caveman brain that likes this system. Here we shot the Joker, put the Joker makeup on and did the manic laughter bit. That was this. So this is a set piece still. And in fact, so is this. In the first couple of weeks of being in the studio, we did an April Fool's prank where I made a new mural and we painted the bathroom wall and set up a set in there. That was a very awkward, confined filming situation, but it's a good April Fool's prank. So this is Gareth's work desk. It's like mine, but less cool. And leave request. You want to leave me? Why are you leaving me? Last but not least, we have this side of the room. We have a couch, which never gets used. Well, I mean, that's not true. It does get used, but mainly for boxes and stuff that isn't organized. But now that all the stuff's organized, I'm not quite sure what we'll use it for. I mean, you could sleep here. That'd make production workflow easier. Oh, and then last but not least, this is my friends wall. Got some times friends came and visited, or when I went and visited friends, my best friends. We go way back. We're very intimately connected. But I think that that's pretty much it for this video. And I think I want to wrap up with this. This is the U wall. This was actually the wall of backers of the original crowdfunding to turn my old garden shed into a workable studio, and you guys blew away my expectations, and I never got to put the backers' names on that studio, but I'm glad I didn't, because obviously this is the much more like long-term home, and I'm really glad I got to do that there. And I think it all comes back to you guys. Like, all of what I do and the people I work with and the content I'm able to bring you is possible because of the support that you guys continually bring to us. And I'm so grateful that I get to make cool stuff for you and that you guys enjoy it and watch it and take part in it. And if you're new, of course, to the channel and you're interested to see what the future holds, because as you can see, we've come a long way. I'm pretty sure we'll be doing a lot more stuff in the future as well, as you've seen in the last year and a half, just from all those flashbacks and how we've used this space so far. It's been crazy, and there's a lot more ahead. So make sure, if you haven't, subscribe for more fun with art and creativity. For more behind the scenes, subscribe to the vlog channel. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. That's it for now. And until next time, I'll see you later.